The Senate has been working on a controversial bill and prescribed death sentence on anyone who makes a hate speech or causes anyone death. What do you think the effect will be if this bill is passed into law? We are on the streets of Abuja to hear the opinions of Nigerians concerning the hate speech. I am Jennifer Chineke reporting for DMItv.
First and foremost, hate speech is saying something that will aggravate the anger of another person. Actually, someone who says something that will aggravate your anger is not your friend. And as such person should be treated. The law should have its course on such a person. I mean, is a way of bringing down someone, like I said.
Okay, are you aware of the proposed penalty for it?
The essence of taking someone to jail is for correction and for punishment. That the person should learn a lesson from what he or she has done. I think we should take it, start by jailing some of the people that have been involved before we should talk of hanging. I think hanging is a kind of too drastic to me for now.
Concerning the issue of hate speeches, it's quite unfortunate that we Nigerians we are in a democracy that a lot of things are going faulty. Now, the hate speeches itself, you and I know that those at the echelons of powers, if they make these hate speeches, it's normal. But to the commoners in the society, it becomes something else. So now, them fighting against hate speeches, what we need to ask ourselves, is it for everybody that they are fighting against, or they are just fighting it for those that they feel they can molest? Because looking at it today, when you talk about hate speeches, you can actually trace it down to some of those men, because we as Nigerians, we know that if the head is not doing the right thing, definitely the subject will commit as well. So if we need to fight against hate speeches, let it be that it's something that is concerning all and sundry. It should not just be subjected to the commoners.
What if it's finally put into law? What effect do you think it will have?
You see, well, I was listening to news today, and the two lawyers that were debating were actually talking about placing ban on the social media, on hate speeches propagated on social media, which I feel, to me, it's out of place. It's out of place. If you look at countries that are even underdeveloped, even countries that are underdeveloped, they don't do that. Why would you go and place ban on a social media? You are now infringing in the personal rights of people, because they have the freedom of speech, which the law, actually, there's a statement that guides us on our own freedom of speech. There are some, laws that guides freedom of speech. But same to that, I think, with my own personal opinion, people should be free to speak their mind. People should be free to give out their own observation. They should be free to express themselves. Now, if there is any questionable acts to that, they should be called to order, not to place a ban. There should be a form of regulation that would make people not to feel as if they are now caged. Because the way the democracy is going, it's no more democracy. It's more like autocracy. So I think that Nigerians should raise a very high standard disagreement on the issue of placing ban on social media for everybody to express themselves.
I think the government needs to, first of all, do an awareness campaign before they implement or introduce this new law into the constitution. To an extent, the way you address situations need to be maybe regulated in a form that does not bring maybe hatred, or because we all know that some sentences, some speeches can incite violence. And we know that in the time past, some people's utterances are led to loss of life. So that might need to be regulated. But at the same time, government needs to carry people along. I think Nigerians, it will definitely have negative effects initially because of maybe reactions and the way people look at it originally. But maybe when the content of the law actually sink in, and we all understand maybe the benefit of it, then we may at the end of the day appreciate it if we discover that it's actually to our own good.
A society that without regulation is a decaying society. It's inevitable. I don't know why people are actually making jest of it or beating it out of proportion. Presently, there are already laws in that respect, very similar to hate speech or social media abuse. For example, in criminal law, that's what we call sedition. When you speak against your government without substantial evidences, you should be called to explain it. In the civil law, like civil society, There are also what we call libel and slander. If you say something which you know clearly that it is false and you publish it, you should be liable. You should account for it. So that's exactly what the social media, the regulation of social media. This is what he wants to. They are only trying to, because when these laws came into existence, social media was not in existence. So if you take someone, if you arrest a suspect over them, by technicalities, the council will tell you that it's unknown to law.
Depends on the definition of the hate bill itself, of what you term as hate speech. For instance, there is no clear definition on what the legislation is all about. Is it, let's say, when you go, is it extreme criticism that are calling hate speech? They were not too specific. What the term hate speech, I think it's already enshrined in our constitution. But bringing out that definition, I also discovered that it was more like copying it from another country. It was word for word from what they saw in Singapore. And Nigeria is, in cases of Nigeria, is different from that of Singapore. Like in Singapore, death sentence over drugs and the rest is different. But in Nigeria, it's not like that. You have to be tried and the rest. And so I think the sponsorer of the bill, the man who sponsored the bill, said he was going to take some, let's say, death penalty out of the bill. But the government of the day are not too transparent with the Nigerian citizen, because prior before 2015, before they came into power, if you watch videos of some of the speeches that were uttered by them, I think they were the real perpetrators of hate speech. Maybe they just want to put a stumbling block from people saying things that will affect their own government, because I feel it is extreme criticism that they don't want. There's no definition for hate speech in the first place, and so there shouldn't be anything like death penalty. I think they need to revisit the vocabulary they are using. You don't just copy something from Singapore and you feel, let's do it this way in Nigeria, and you think it will work. Our judicial system is even very poor for us to talk about death penalty.
You can't stop hate speech in this country as long as the system is not working. So it will be very appalling for the government to say that they are passing a bill that whoever make any hate speech will go into jail for it. So I don't think it's right. Let's be frank to ourselves. This government is not working. So as long as this government is not working, hate speech must always be. So
what effect do you think it will have if passed into law?
It will have a lot of effect, because basically everybody in the street, you can see whatever, nobody here will talk good about this government. That means every Nigerian, 1/10 of every Nigerian will be sentenced to death for hate speech.
The thing is, in the first place, why should there be controversy? We are talking about individuals that rode on the crest of hate speech before they came to government. These same individuals, these same people, they're coming out to tell us that they're passing a bill against hate speech. Does that make any sense?
So what do you have to say about the penalty, the harsh penalty?
That somebody steals billions of dollars, and that person is jailed for 3 years, and then the next person says something against an individual, and then he will be hung. What do you call that? Where are we going as a country? It's as simple as this is it. The effect is, don't speak about the government, even if they're trying to kill you. That's what they're saying. As Nigerians, we already know what the effect will be on us, but are we trying to run away from it? It's just to guide the individual, to the public, speaking against the government, and then they tell you it's wrong speaking against them.
There's supposed to be freedom of speech. Why clamor for hate speech? When I saw the advert, I was also even saying, why clamor for hate speech? Which there are other things they're supposed to look out to, because we are in democracy, and we have our right to say whatever we want to say. It's just about politics. So if it's put to law, that means I cannot express my view. If I see something that is going on and I cannot express my view, so why the hate speech? So I don't see the reason for the bill passing of hate speech bill.
passing that bill into law, for they are trying to deprive us of our own rights in the first place, because the situation of the country now is enough for everyone to be speaking out his mind, because we're in a democracy regime. So having a hate speech will become a death to the image of the society, of the citizens of Nigerians, because this will not enable many of us to speak out when it is time for us to say out the truth. The hate speech came on from the same people who trying to put this hate speech. They were the ones who started this hate speech. If you take a look at 2012 or 2015 when they were campaigning, the words they were using then they were even more brutal than what they expecting, what they are hearing now, which they call hate speech. And what we are passing through now is actually not, we're not actually saying hate speech. We are actually speaking out our mind, trying to tell the government know that the situation of the country, we are not okay with it. The economic, the security area, it ensures the challenge in all areas of the government. So when you are not speaking out that there is no security here, the economy is getting down, the government are not working, this is our truth. And now, is that what you call hate speech?
What do we mean by that hate speech to start with? Does it mean that our representatives, the legislators don't have any other business to do at National Assembly than to debate on hate speech? They just want to silence my mouth, their own, and other Nigerians. So if they are committing atrocities there, committing what is uncommittable, they would like us to keep quiet, not to talk. They now baptize that into hate speech, not knowing that their own is worse than that hate speech. If we put into law, then they, the legislators that are representing us, they will be the first person that will face that death penalty. Because if they, the legislator, mean business at that National Assembly, why shouldn't they first of all debate on this corruption we are talking about? Anyone that found being corrupted must face death penalty. We have a long way to go. We have something good to think about, how our economies will grow, how the youth, how they will create jobs for the youth, how, oh my God, they should think something good they should think about, not to think about hate speech. They want to silence me, you, and other Nigerians not to talk. It will not work.